And we're back, guys. Apologies from Tumba and Froden. We had some technical issues. They are squared away. Okay, so here's what you missed. Basically, essentially, we had Killer open up with a Forge Fast expand, and the way Symbol responded was with simply a quick third.
Yeah.
So there you are. You're caught up. Of course, PVZ, this is kind of what happens. Zealots just now getting to the third, so you guys really didn't miss any action. Good Overlord spread thus far by Symbol. And here we go. Zealot's going to try to focus down that Queen. Of course, Queen on creep will be able to get away. Was able to get the larva inject off in time, and Zealot's actually going to retreat back a little bit and try to inflict some damage on these Lings and get as much damage done as possible on the Queen.
Yeah, the Zealots, of course, are just light pressure. They're the first they were chrono boosted out of the gateway, and this is similar to how Hero loves the style. In fact, a lot of Koreans have been adopting this. I saw Parting was able to sneak this in to his kind of play. So the idea is just to have just a little bit light and keep the drone count accountable. Just because you forced him to make a little bit more Zerglings, but you can see it was actually great control by Symbol. He didn't have to actually bring any Zerglings really other than the first two. Now drone up very, very nicely, getting his Roach Warren as well as his Evolution Chamber. So no doubt going to start +1 and get his Roaches very soon. But in the meantime, we also have a Stargate out into the field, and the first few units are being pushed out here, starting with the Phoenix.
Which is an interesting choice, actually, and we've seen a lot of Protoss adopt this. Back in mid-2011, all we ever saw was Void Rays come out of those initially, MC, of course, followed by Phoenix. Now a lot of players adopting, once again, heavy Phoenix play coming back into style. We did see it here and there, players, experimenting with it. And, the Phoenix upgrade, the new Phoenix upgrade, really hasn't come into play that I've seen
at all
thus far. And, of course, it takes a while to tech to, but nonetheless, these Phoenix are on the field, and we're just going to see what he can do with them.
Well, more importantly, the follow-up is what's really important. So, because he is finishing a Twilight Council. Now, I have seen a couple Koreans go directly for Blink after Phoenix. There it is. Blink has started. Looks like he's going to lift off the Queen immediately and try to see if he can pick off some of the production line of Zerg and just generally harass. But more importantly, I think he saw the Roaches that were popping out too. So now he knows what to expect as well, because the idea is he has to be safe back at home with the Tumba.
Absolutely, Froden. Very well said. Of course, great, excellent points made by you. Froden dropping those knowledge bombs per usual. And you know what? It's one of those things, the Phoenix is a quick unit. It provides scouting information, harass information, and it really can be used throughout the entire matchup to go ahead and take out Overlords when possible, as well as just harass mineral lines. So Roaches are now arriving. Only one cannon here. I don't know.
That's greedy, Dumbo, because you need at least 2 or 3 cannons, especially if you see these Roaches, but he wasn't really aware. The sentries are kind of out of position, getting threatened of going down. Void Ray has arrived to the battlefield, though, so ultimately these Roaches will die, but the question is how much damage. But he brings back the Phoenixes, and he should be okay now. Great snipe by Symbol, though, picking up the sentries is absolutely huge.
Absolutely, way to focus those down. Will lose the Forge as well. Symbol doing so very well. Also going to go and head down to this third area where he's going to go ahead and find out there's obviously nothing there. However, the Phoenix will pick up and take out that Roach. And right now, it's crisis management moment for Killer. And I think that really, at this stage of the game, Symbol's satisfied with the damage he's done thus far.
Yeah, he only sent 6 Roaches. He managed to scout a couple things. First of all, he killed the Forge, so he delays any kind of upgrades, which is important. Killer remaking double Forges and now going for +2, +1. And he also got a good sense of unit composition, saying, okay, he has this many Phoenixes, he's got a Void Ray, and mainly going Stalker Sentry, so he knows Blink is at least prevalent onto the field. Right. Because there's Chrono Boost on the Forge, so he says, okay, there has to be a Twilight Council. And more importantly, he also saw the pylon at the third, so he knows that there's an intention to expand. And he says, okay, well, Protoss is going to be a little bit more defensive and trying to get his third up, so now that can give him a little bit of opportunity to try to get all this tech out. You can see Symbol, it's like greedy. He's getting 4 or 5 upgrades at the same time, making a lot of units as well. Not really focusing too much on his economy, but doing a fantastic job here, reading his opponent, and now he has all the information he needs to make a play.
Absolutely. You can see Hydra's now in the field. Hydra's so very slow off creep. A unit really that frustrates Zerg a lot. It's very, very good verse air units. However, again, frustrating when they're off creep trying to get those puppies across the map. Great DPS out of those as well, though. And look at this third. And this is actually, I like to see this because I feel like when Protoss try to skimp too much on static defense, and cannons at the third, especially against the Zerg, will give you enough time to respond to any crisis management that you may have to go ahead and use. Well, here we go. A little bit of an engagement with those Phoenix. You have to be so very careful with those because you don't want to lose your Phoenix numbers, you're going to need those grab. And I like the decision actually to go to the double forward, something we typically see against Terran, but I feel like he's going to need those upgrades.
Yeah.
Especially after losing those few engagements initially.
Well, more importantly, +2 is actually really valuable, and +1 armor actually surprisingly. You see a lot of lings, and anything that has high amount of attack rate is really important to get that armor. Now, of course, Killer's whole plan was to force Hydras and to try to have that transition to Colossus. He already just finished his Robotics Bay. First Colossus is on the way, but we do see Symbols gearing up for a massive, massive timing attack. Keep in mind, he does have Overlord speed and drop. So he is going to wait for a couple of seconds here for his +1 as well as his +2 carapace to finish. And Symbols lining up a lot of units. And this could be a deadly timing attack, Tumba. The Overlords are prepped and ready to go. They're pregnant.
Absolutely.
And the 9-month gestation periods are already over. And Zergs are ready to come in over here. Symbol ready to drop in, but the Phoenixes have discovered the secret spot of Overlords. And here they go dropping, Tumba. How much damage will this be up?
We're going to have to see. As you can see, Roaches, Hydras, and Lynx now in the main. Guardian Shield has popped. Those Phoenix did scout that on the way. So here is the response time right now for the Protoss. Was able to get there in time, and now you can see is actually going to mop up the initial force. Not too bad. Mainering or transferring, however you want to say it, some probes over. Doing some good job with those grab lifts and really great crisis management right now, as this looks like it's going to get cleaned up.
Phenomenal defense
however,
here from Killer.
Sorry to interrupt. I just want to note at the third here, you can see was able to go ahead and split his units, and he may once again yep, there it goes, takes out the Nexus. So actually Froden, I believe he denied that third once and was able to just completely snipe it there. So where that drop paid off was the fact that it was a misdirection and he had to deal with all those forces in the main while dealing with those, leaving the third exposed. And, you know, that was a great read by Symbol to go ahead and spot that weakness. Yeah,
because Killer is one of those Protosses that just kind of keep his units all in one bunch. And actually, most Protosses do end up struggling with that. But we see that Killer's still active with his Phoenixes. And I like that because he's now keeping Zerg a little bit accountable. More importantly, he sees that Symbol is still making units.
Yes.
And he says, you know, he's not trying to do anything crazy with huge economy, but in fact, he's still in full production mode. He already did have all those lines of upgrades, but he doesn't have Hive just yet. In fact, it just started. So Killer's actually expanding to a 4th in the bottom right.
Yeah, and I feel like that's a move where he says, okay, I think I'm behind here, and I'm going to need extra gas to continue to go ahead and face off. But what he's really at this point too, still I have to note, so very active with these Phoenix, which you have to be. That's the investment. And he's kind of dragging the Zerg army all around with that and making sure that he can go ahead and keep tabs on them. So that's a little bit frustrating, I think, for Symbol. It's just the fact that, you know, he seems to be one step ahead of him with the Phoenix.
This is, yeah, and absolutely. But the most important thing is that the Phoenixes did see the Banelings, and the Banelings are loaded to the Overlords, so Symbol knows exactly, or sorry, Killer knows exactly what's going on, and Symbol, will he be prepared for it? He's trying to see if he can get Archons, which is a great sponge to absorb a lot of those Baneling hits, but it's all about the engagement here. Symbol trying to see if he can shut down another base here, and in fact, he's going to go ahead and try to go for the 4th immediately because he is aware of that.
I love this. It's just a great decision because it's the most vulnerable at the moment. And it looks like he's going to take that down without a contestation, without a problem at all. There will be no type of stand made by Killer there. A Storm, 3/4 of the way done. And as you can see, right now, almost looking a little frustrated. Symbol, not quite sure where he wants to go, but is able to find the 3rd. We could see the Bane Rain coming.
Well, it looks like the Colossi are doing fantastic damage. F1 Force Field is actually doing a good job here intersecting off the units. The Phoenixes here are bringing back to try to see if they can shut down the Overlord drops, but it does not matter. The units are already deployed. Nice pickup on the Infestor as well, but the Stalkers are doing a fantastic job doing damage and blinking back. Killer being so cost efficient, and he's managed to save a huge core of his units here. And Symbol, you know,
unbelievable play there out of Killer. I mean, loses his 4th, has maintained composure after having his main pretty much, as you said, impregnated by those impregnated Overlords. So that drop came in, dealt with that, dealt with Harass at the 3rd, but look at this. Another massive Lings here coming down as he's trying to reestablish. He does not want to allow Killer to get this 4th, and expanding behind this as well. And we can go to the main, we can see another drop coming down. Lings now into the main, but these Phoenix always one step ahead.
Wow. Yeah, being active with those Phoenixes is the actual key moment of this game.
Yeah.
fourth he's constantly being canceled isn't the worst thing, but Protoss is now starting to mine out his main, wants to get that 3-base income again. Actually, he's leaving the Zerglings despite them being burrowed there, so that's kind of going to be an issue. But Symbol going for this counterattack style that we haven't actually seen too much out of Zerg recently, just because they've been lining more timings rather than trying to be mobility. But this is really cool to see because he's transitioning directly to Ultralisks. Now, Tomo, give me your thoughts right now as Symbol's tech choice.
I don't like the switch, to be honest. Ultralisk almost spells certain doom a lot of times for Zerg, but we're going to have to see. You know what? Maybe if Symbol's comfortable with the unit and has a plan, it'll work out just fine. If it's sort of a Hail Mary situation because you feel that last engagement went so bad and it maybe cracked him a little mentally, then it's a big problem for him. I feel like at the moment, though, Killer did a great job seizing the initiative in that last engagement. It really couldn't have gone better for him. And as you said, you pointed out, Froden, this fourth out of Symbol is really late. He made a lot of units, and you know, took a lot of time to get that fourth up. So I think that he was going for the kill and sort of missed his opportunity there, just in terms of putting the knife in the throat, if you will, or you know, the killing blow to Killer, no pun intended.
Well, the idea is that Symbol wanted to at least cripple one area of Protoss, whether it be economy, whether it be tech, where he just completely kills all of the Colossi. But look at this, he is making 24 Banelings. Keep in mind, he's already got 20 Banelings loaded up. This is an absolute madness amount of Banelings that Symbol is acquiring here. And looks like at the same time, the Zells do spot the Ultralisk, and the Ultralisk not want to engage in such an awkward position, but great positioning actually directly behind the Fume, so that way there's no surface area. The Stalkers here trying to blink back, avoiding the Banelings, but the Fungals keep them in place. It will Symbol be able to land great explosions, and it looks like Symbol might be able to do some good damage here, but the Colossus doing too much area effect. The Ultras being an absolute hero, getting 7 kills, 2 of which were on the Colossi. The Void Ray going to work here, and it looks like Killer will stabilize, but he lost a lot of important tech units.
He certainly does. What another phenomenal. It's been seesaw battles. Both players doing so very well, inflicting damage on each other. Of course, Observer out. Killer so active on the map once again with his now adding a Warp Prism into the mix. You can see harassing this fourth, and we have another engagement down here at the fifth. So responding in kind, really, to what he has just seen out of Symbol, going ahead with that counter attack. So we're going to have to see exactly what shakes out here as both players sort of stabilize, go back to their respective corners, and come up with try to formulate a new plan.
But this is excellent Protoss play, because I want to stress to you how often. Oh, actually, hold that thought. We have a Zergling potential run by here, but now greatly thwarted here by Killer. And just another thing I want to commend. First of all, the whole idea is when you lose your tech units, what do? We usually back off and try to re-macro, but Killer says, no, actually, that's when I'm going to be even more aggressive. And he's going to drop storms.
Storm's going down now. I love this. Storm drops. Something we haven't seen for a very long time, since probably Cardarian Amulet, into high use in any way. I mean, we see it from time to time, but I would really love to see harass like that, especially with the shield buff to the Warp Prism here not so long ago. I think it's a great unit to use, raising the skill cap of Protoss. Here we go. More storms going down, Froden.
Wow, and looks like he wants to pick up those High Templar, but the Corruptors do end up sniping the Warp Prism and morphing them into Archons, so a great job there by Killer to try to see if he can get as much damage as possible. Did he manage to kill a significant amount of workers though, Tumba?
Well, that is the question.
And wow, yeah, a good even amount of workers killed this entire game, so you can see that these two players have been actually pretty even. Killer actually takes a very slight supply lead, but Symbol, of course, is on more bases, so his ability to macro up is much higher. Now, one thing I gotta, urge Symbol to do, though, is to get his tech up earlier. It's 25 minutes in the game, 26 minutes in the game, and Greater Spire just started, Tumbo.
Yeah, absolutely. Look at this. 3 Colossus on the field, so he had time to go ahead and remake, but the question is, with that Corruptor count, Killer's got to be very careful. He's been choosing his engagements very well thus far, but I really feel like, this game at the moment is on a razor's edge. This literally could go either way. If you look at the supplies, 166 currently, or 168 thereabouts, for Killer to the 142 of Zerg. You never want to be in a position where you're behind in supply as a Zerg player.
Yeah, I mean, that's just not what you want to do, but more importantly, you don't want Protoss to max. And the fact that Killer already has 3/3 is getting +2 shield upgrades.
Oh, man. Once the Protoss start
devastating.
moving toward the shields, that's when you know you could be in a bit of trouble.
So we do see that he's actually transitioned to Immortals as well, which is a fantastic choice.
I love that choice.
Sprinkling Immortals into your army is just a fantastic amount of DPS, especially if you see Roach Heavy. But Broodlords will throw kind of a wrench into that kind of plan, so we'll have to see whether or not Killer can get the engagement he wants blinking underneath, and if the Infestors can catch them as well.
I have to mention, you know, losing the Warp Prism is a big issue because one of the great things about a Warp Prism is the ability to find and snipe a Spire. Yep. That's a great boon to the Protoss army. That's what you have to do, and he doesn't have that. He's not going to have that ability right now. At the same time, Symbol heavy on Ultralisk right now, Baneling and also Infestor. You have to protect those Infestors at all costs. Broodlords now hitting the field, and you know, while they are slow and just lumber across the map, they do a ton of damage.
Yeah, the Broodlords are absolutely crazy because they're just a siege unit from far away, so it forces the blink forward. And if you have Banelings and Infestors, you can immediately snipe them. So it's sort of a great little... I like the composition here, and I like that he's not overdoing on the Ultras. Normally we see 8, 9, 10 Ultras.
Exactly.
And he's just keeping a little bit in it. And Symbol showing a great composition here. The Stalkers do push forward here with the Guardian Shield, but they need to get a better position. Do not want to come up there. Feedbacks on the Queens and the Infestors, making sure that they cannot land the Fungal on the Stalkers, and the High Templars are moving forward. And the blink forward Symbol is under a lot of pressure, but he blinks forward directly into a Fungal. The Baneling's trying to get a huge splash damage, and Killer is not backing down, saying, I am going to fight you here in this choke. Is this the engagement Symbol wants? I do not think so.
Not at all. As you can see, Killer's Colossus reigns supreme at the moment. So right now, Infestor's trying to come in, but Storm's going down. Out come the Infested Beach Balls of Death, a.k.a. Infested Terrans. But there are tons of storms. It's cloudy with a chance of lightning right now.
Absolutely, and we look like the lasers are cleaning up everything on the ground. The Stalker's finally blinking forward, and probably should try to pick up the last kill on the Broodlord. Great job there. Now, looks like we do see that Killer is still moving forward. Keep in mind, he pretty much has the same amount of Stalkers as he does Colossi, but he's reinforcing right now and trying to see if he can get in position. He wants to shut down this expansion. The most important thing late game, shut down the expansion of Zerg. Do not allow them to get that production up. And it looks like here Symbol will be forced to evacuate.
Oh,
and that's a great
he's on top of the rally point as well. Look at the arc right now for Killer. Killer can smell victory at this point, Froden.
Yeah, looks like 100 supply to 150. Killer might have found his entry point here to take the victory, but we'll have to find out whether or not he's going to press in here. He really should, as Symbol right now is running low on resources as well, maxing or trying to resupply here on Zerglings, and GG.
Wow. What a phenomenal game to start off Saturday. MLG, that's what it's all about right there. What a slugfest. You can really tell both players wanted that match.
Yeah, it kept going back and forth. You can see even supplies throughout the game, even expansions, and you can see that Symbol kept trying to go attack after attack, but Killer with staunch defense and impeccable positioning on his Stalkers was showing how good his PvZ has recently gotten.
How about those upgrades? 3, 2, 3. Yep. You don't usually hear that. You know, in terms of upgrades, you usually hear two numbers. You're going to hear the armor and the attack upgrade, but as well he got shields. And when you can get a Protoss to +2, and don't forget, I don't really want to take anything away from Symbol. Symbol did a phenomenal job initially. Almost everything you really have to do as Zerg to slow down Protoss that Forge Fast expands. Great drop into the main, misdirection, took out the third, delayed the third, was able to snipe the fourth. Very active, but man, Killer, just every engagement seemed to have that X factor and was able to come out on top.
Yeah, Symbol adopted more of a July play style of trying to go for a drop with Hydras immediately after seeing Stargate, but unfortunately the Phoenixes found that out, and that was the key moment we're talking about, and that allowed Killer to be able to even out things because Zerg committed a lot of supply and Killer lost almost nothing. Yeah, except he did lose that one base, but in the end he was able to at least have the units that he already needed.
Well, I'm not sure if you noticed. Well, I'm sure you did notice because you notice everything, but on that big attack, after he won that final engagement, he was actually expanding behind that himself as well. So he was adding either a fifth or a sixth nexus. Yeah, so you know, he was completely ready to take that game as far as it had to go. He was never felt comfortable like, okay, this is in the bag yet. I'm going to continue to expand. I'm going to continue to get ahead. Of course, the old adage, when you're ahead,
get more ahead.
There it is. So just waiting now to set up game 2. We hope you enjoyed game 1 as much as we did. Again, Froden, I can't think of a better way to start off day 1.
It's been fantastic. Actually, yesterday, every game that I've had was at least 25 minutes except for one, but it was a really cool cheese, actually, watching a Zerg proxy hatchery. It was actually absolutely insane. And, you know, I want to see more of these kinds of games that I'm actually just I'm unbelievably pleasantly surprised that StarCraft 2 has come to the point where we can see these drawn-out games and see what skill that these players have at the highest level.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to articulate how emotional it is to be here and get to cast this because I'm a huge fan of StarCraft myself. So the fan in me is freaking out right now because there's so many great players and so many great games. And one of my favorite things about MLG is there's always a surprise story, a Trimaster or somebody you haven't heard of maybe yet that comes through. And what great brand of StarCraft did we just see get played there from, I don't want to call them unknown players because they are known, but to the great masses, maybe if you're new to StarCraft, you haven't heard of these players yet, well, now you know them and now you see what they can do. So, of course, Symbol and Killer just putting on a clinic really for us there and showing some great StarCraft. So we're just going to get the next map selection for you guys, and we're going to get that game set up in just one moment. I'm going to check in on the players. And
it's interesting because if you look at the score right now, Symbol actually was even up on Killer. That's how close the game was.
Yeah.
Because Killer ends up winning the game, but Symbol had a lot of other things going on for him as well. So you could see that both players were fighting tooth and nail for positioning and momentum, and in the end, Killer just barely edged out Symbol there and was able to really capitalize on his keeping his Colossus alive. So
I got to be honest with you, I just don't like the Ultralisk for a number of reasons. I feel like it's still a clunky unit. The pathing isn't great for it, and it can be very difficult to use. I feel like the unit itself, not getting into balance, but the unit itself needs a little bit of work, just in terms of the pathing and how it can be used. And we're getting there, though, I think. You know, however, that tech choice is always a bit iffy for me when I see it happen. And you had asked what do I think about it, so I got to be honest. When I see that tech choice out of Zerg, I have to be a little concerned.
Yeah, I mean, the whole idea is you get those Ultras, you land the Fungals, and they get the AoE, but with good Stalker Blink and with strong positioning, Ultras really can't do anything, especially attacking into the middle choke on Daybreak. That is absolutely not what you want to do. And Symbol, it wasn't necessarily the fact that he attacked. There's that Killer pushed him back and blinked forward. You know, the whole idea is you expect Protoss to kind of blink back, but Killer was just so hyper-aggressive, saying, I'm going to blink forward and move into your face. It's kind of like in boxing. You expect to get zoned, but instead you just kind of dodge and you move closer and you try to go for some short jabs. Absolutely,
and that's a great analogy because that's exactly what happened. And also what we saw, a couple of key things. One, every engagement, Guardian Shield popped. Also, not to mention Guardian Shield, there was the Phoenix that he opened up with. Remember I said he's going to use these throughout the entire game, and he really did up until late game, very late game, and until it was replaced with one Void Ray, but that really gave him all the critical information that he needed. Saw the Banelings, saw the initial Roach attack, had time to prepare, saw the Baneling drop heading for the main, had time to prepare for that as well. So those Phoenix really paid off. So we're just waiting to get into for the next map. We need our map selection from the players, and we'll get that game started right away. One second while they select the map, and this will be actually Symbol's pick.
Guys, we have a pretty diverse map pool. We have and of course we did just see Daybreak. We also have Antigua Shipyards, Entombed Valley, Tal'Dorei Maltus, Shakur's Plateau, Dual Site, and I believe Metalopolis is the last map in our map pool. So we have a pretty good selection here, and the whole idea is we have 7 maps because it's in case for this extended series, we have one map different for each possible set. So we're going to get the players ready into the game. In the meantime, again, thank you for tuning in. This is gameplay stream number 3. And that means you guys are the premium payers, and you guys are the one that we really value because you guys are the ones that we want to deliver even more service and great stuff. So please leave us feedback. If you could either tweet at me or Tumba, let us know how we're doing in terms of audio, visual. Yesterday there's a lot of audio balance problems, so hopefully we can get those sorted out. But if the stream is going well, also let us know so that way we can get another thing off of our checklist.
Guys, I've been with the beta streams when they were beta streams since the start, since Orlando, and I have to say, seeing them grow to this extent really makes me happy because I want to give you guys the best possible production I can. So your feedback is critical for us. Of course, as Froden said, please let us know. We want to make this as enjoyable as possible for you guys. We're here for you. We want to make sure you guys have a good time, and thank you so much for supporting MLG and just esports in general. We really value you. And I mean that sincerely. So we're going to get right into this game, though.